In the boundless, perpetually growing cosmos, a prevailing truth exists. Exceptional intellect can frequently exhibit breathtaking foolishness. The united forces of the Seven Systems Alliance exemplified this enduring principle when they misinterpreted humanity's strategic quietude as capitulation. A colossal misjudgment destined to become a legend, akin to rousing a slumbering grizzly only to leisurely lunch beside it. The flagship Inevitable Victory lingered in Earth's orbit, resembling an ostentatious multi-tiered confection adorned with glittering towers and gratuitous embellishments. Flaunts its very architecture shouted, "Our tech's so advanced, we flaunt it." The ship's name signaled Hubris, the Alliance's core export. "Still no reply after 37 rotations," Admiral Czar declared, his antenna twitching with SETI amusement. His exoskeleton shimmered, mirroring his colossal ego. "Primitives cowed," he concluded, addressing his Proximan aide. Sporting skin mirroring Azia's hues, a self-assured cerulean nodded, concurring. Psychological analyses suggest a roughly 42-day incubation period for them to internalize setbacks. Their reticence stems from cultural norms. They strategically withdraw before submitting. The Alliance's colossal, breathtaking miscalculation. Humanity wasn't paralyzed by dread, but wisely chose silence as their hands prepared to act. Unexpectedly, the first strike landed, yet the Alliance was hardly inept. They crippled Earth's key communication satellites, annihilated various military outposts, and pompously flaunted their superior tech, akin to a peacock's boast, if peacocks wielded planet-shattering arms and were plagued by shared megalomania. Primitive internet traffic decreased by roughly 70%, relayed the Ganymede analyst, whose kind conversed mainly via complex mathematical constructs, so obviously. "I find the human approach perplexing and insultingly irrational. They seem resigned to joining the Alliance." Curiously, no one on the bridge asked why human energy use surged by 30% in areas reportedly shut down. Even stranger, radiation levels spiked at key research sites post-surrender. But probing a perceived victory is inconvenient when celebrations are underway. Meanwhile, on the planet below, humanity persevered, showcasing its unparalleled adaptability with a frenetic ingenuity unique to a species that once eyed deadly nightshade and mused, "I wonder if we could cultivate a palatable pizza topping from this in a few centuries." Deep within subterranean havens, dismissed by Alliance scanners as mere rudimentary shelters, quantum physicists were aggressively reverse engineering seized Alliance tech, fueled by newfound, boundless resources and blessedly absent red tape. Military strategists meticulously charted weaknesses in Alliance vessels, gleaning insights from initial blast radiuses, and globally, ingenious civilians reinvented common tech in ways guaranteed to trigger immediate mental breakdowns in Alliance safety regulators. The Alliance, in their presumed omniscience, had unwittingly planted the seeds of their own downfall. An orbital blockade, not invasion. A calculated choice by the Proximans. Limited resources, sure, but mainly their xenopsychologists prescribed acclimation. In truth, Earth was a planet-sized lab, despair fueling innovation beyond prediction. "Integration protocols," purred the Proximan, skin swirling indigo. "Humanity will crave guidance, eagerly serving the Alliance. Their world offers invaluable resources, their labor, unmatched value." Once skillfully guided. Admiral Zuktar emitted a clicking noise, his species equivalent of a chuckle, as their stoic demeanor reveals their essence. A species yielding prematurely lacks the unwavering resolve necessary for genuine sovereignty. The profound irony of his proclamation would later be tragically etched into history, rivaling the Medusan emperor's disastrous claim that water was a mere fleeting trend, uttered just before his arid planet as the blockade's 43rd day dawned. Rain, a phenomenon unknown for 10,000 years, graced the parched Earth. Simultaneously, the Alliance Council assembled on the inevitable victory, poised to finalize Earth's capitulation. The surrender terms, a thinly veiled act of supremacy disguised as generosity, granted humanity the honor of Alliance servitude, a fate preferable to utter annihilation. Envoys from all 7 star systems were present, the ship's environment meticulously calibrated to accommodate their diverse biological needs, including atmospheric compositions and gravitational forces, during the pivotal negotiation. Ship's majestic assembly hall, humanity will be deeply indebted to our leadership, declared the Arcturus envoy, a crystalline entity radiating mesmerizing light patterns. Their technological evolution, while astonishingly swift, lacks purpose. With our astute guidance, they could potentially accomplish remarkable feats within the upcoming epochs. The assembly resonated with affirmative sounds, a symphony of clicks, whistles, complex equations, and resonant frequencies, seamlessly translated into the universal standard. Alliance language, a jubilant atmosphere thick with the smugness that heralds colossal downfall, pervaded. As the Council meticulously schemed Earth's resource exploitation and population management, none dared question the unusual energy spikes detected by long-range sensors at the poles, or the escalating drone interference around key installations. Humanity's silence, ominous. Leaders interpreted patience as agreement, not intense focus before the Alliance revealed surrender terms. Admiral Zakhtar viewed the blue-green planet, soon a jewel in their empire. Pity they yielded, he mused. I craved resistance worthy of my memoirs. His aide, ever agreeable, nodded. They grasped the pointlessness of defying your genius. Strategy Admiral Zakhtar concurred, his antenna vibrating with sublime satisfaction, yet a tinge of disappointment lingered. A triumph without challenge feels somewhat hollow. Precisely then, as if the cosmos reveled in theatrical flair, a subtle alert chimed from the agitator's comms. Admiral, the agitator began, their compound eyes widening subtly as they assimilated intel. Our sensors are picking up peculiar activity within Earth's atmosphere. Multiple thermal signatures are intensifying from the surface. Zakhtar nonchalantly waved a limb. Likely just their archaic aircraft execute a climactic patrol before officially yielding, noting nothing to alarm us. The agitator paused, mandibles clicking anxiously. Sir, these signatures deviate from all documented human aircraft, and they're surging forward for the first time in 41 days. Admiral Zar experienced a sensation beyond mere self-satisfaction as he surveyed Earth. 17 more minutes were required for that feeling to solidify into comprehension, and by that juncture, it would be irrevocably too late. The silence was never submission. It was the cosmos's most ancient hunter biding its time. A moment of stillness before striking, Admiral Zakhtar and his obsequious council were meticulously composing humanity's surrender terms, utterly oblivious. Meanwhile, the supposedly vanquished species engaged in the universe's most frantic crash course before the ultimate showdown, deep within a Rocky Mountain facility meticulously shielded from Alliance detection through a series of ingenious, albeit unorthodox, technological workarounds. A brilliant mathematician meticulously detailed, explaining quantum entanglement with only a rubber duck and dramatic hand movements. She detailed reversing the neutron flow's polarity before a weary general, burdened by the invasion's dawn, demanded its effect on enemy shields. The mathematician grinned, having dedicated 40 grueling nights cracking an unsolvable equation. It'll devastate them. Not just disable them, it'll weaponize their shield generators into a concentrated EMP field, frying their systems. Across hidden bunkers worldwide, genius minds reverse-engineered, captured Alliance tech, forging innovations the original creators would deem heretical, if not unthinkable. The Alliance's primal error, believing humanity would fight fair. A critical blunder was gifting humanity tech samples via downed fighters and drones. Deep in MIT's flooded basements, engineers painstakingly reverse-engineered an Alliance propulsion system, adapting it to Earth's antiquated power. This feat, achieved waist-deep in water with salvaged tools, highlighted humanity's uncanny ability to innovate amidst adversity. Quantum, an inversion drive linked to a conventional grid? A professor questioned, his tweed jacket oddly formal amidst groundbreaking innovation. A student, eyes burning from sleepless nights, glanced up from her welding. "Watch this." The professor began to protest, then fell silent as the makeshift connection crackled, sparked, and defied physics to stabilize. "Well," he remarked, witnessing thermodynamic laws effortlessly shattered, "this warrants a publication." "Let's persevere initially, unveil subsequently," a student proposed, mastering adaptation's miniaturization. The Alliance's advanced psychological assessments tragically misjudged humanity's affinity for defiance. Where other species yield to superior tech, humans boast a legendary record of confronting insurmountable odds by daring physics, probability, and rationale to vanish. Deep within the Australian outback, a team of military engineers and Aboriginal trackers were rigorously evaluating an enhanced iteration of Alliance stealth technology. This ingenious adaptation fused groundbreaking scientific innovation with time-honored indigenous wisdom, enabling unseen movement through unforgiving landscapes. The resulting cloaking system not only concealed vehicles from Alliance sensors, but strategically misled them, fabricating phantom targets that sent their systems on wild goose chases. "It's still a work in progress," the project director conceded. Observing their advanced prototype phase out of sight, evading visual and electronic tracking, perfection isn't the goal. Diverting their initial crucial attack is. Tracker affirmed, a follow-up is unlikely if the opener is devastating. This Earth-wide strategy isn't about mirroring the Alliance's superior tech. It's about keenly targeting the chinks in their armor, pinpointing vulnerabilities bred by arrogance, and ramming those exposed flaws with every ounce of human grit. Deep within a repurposed aircraft hangar in Nevada, masked by holographic illusions derived from a crashed Alliance scout and its isolated location, hundreds of civilian pilots were mastering unique hybrid aircraft. These machines, visually unappealing and ungainly, fused human fighter jet components with salvaged Alliance tech, granting incredible maneuverability that elicited both elation and nausea in their test pilots. "These controls are utter nonsense," exclaimed a seasoned ex-airline pilot, eyeing the console. A bizarre fusion of familiar aviation tools and otherworldly tech. "They're not meant to make sense," retorted the flight instructor, a grizzled Air Force veteran whose resolve rivaled iron. "They just need to function long enough to get your package delivered and you out of the kill zone." What humankind lacked in a coordinated governmental action, it more than compensated for with grassroots ingenuity. When global comms went down, folks adapted with what was available locally. The outcome? A mind-boggling assortment. A creative response emerged: how to strike back against a superior foe in Japanese waters. Fishing boats were ingeniously transformed into missile platforms, merging primitive but unpredictable human targeting with advanced Alliance propulsion. These missiles were slower, but executed maneuvers deemed physically impossible by Alliance defenses, thus bypassing their tracking systems. Will it function?" inquired a naval officer, observing the retrofitted vessels execute their initial live-fire trials. The chief engineer responded with a telling shrug. "Likely not precisely as designed, but it's guaranteed to deliver something extraordinary. And extraordinary is precisely what we require, urgently." The officer conceded that in the dire circumstances, a monumental debacle remained a superior outcome to abject capitulation. Concealed in orbit, evading Alliance surveillance through a confluence of serendipity, makeshift stealth enhancements, and the mere oversight of the Alliance's search parameters. A modest space station had undergone rapid repurposing into humanity's inaugural interstellar weapon platform. The International Space Station, initially conceived for harmonious research, now teamed with hastily integrated armament systems that would have induced severe anxiety in even the most seasoned safety engineers. Still had the privilege to obsess over established protocols. If we unleash more than 3 times, the whole station might disintegrate. Conceded the commander, her face hinting this was an entirely satisfactory solution. Considering the predicament, then we ensure those 3 shots obliterate, replied her deputy. A physicist who'd never envisioned her path would entail turning research instruments into weapons. The station's personnel, a global array of experts and astronauts, abruptly thrust onto the leading edge of the interstellar conflict, had meticulously calculated targeting solutions, acknowledging their constrained resources. Annihilation of the Alliance flagship was impossible, but a perfectly timed diversion was sufficient. Concurrently, on Earth, humanity's most audacious endeavor approached fruition within the reinforced bunkers under the former NORAD site. Here, brilliant minds weaponized the quantum mechanics underpinning Alliance FTL tech, a concept the enemy would never have deliberated, not from inability, but from recognizing the insane risks. No rational species would dare trigger such potential devastation. To encapsulate, the project director declared to the assembled military officials and civilian luminaries, "We will weaponize their communication network, unleashing a signal that initiates a catastrophic feedback surge within their quantum relay system." "And that achieves precisely what?" inquired a general, struggling to comprehend the underlying science. A physicist, sporting unkempt hair and even more untamed eyes, grinned. "Envision a scenario where every mobile device globally instantaneously attempts to connect to every other, each connection generating intense thermal energy sufficient to incinerate the device. Their entire command infrastructure collapses," elaborated one scientist. "Not just limited to the local level, but universally. Every allied vessel, base, and station interconnected via their faster-than-light network will endure the identical catastrophic disruption." "For what duration?" questioned the President's Chief of Staff, one of the few governmental representatives to reach the secure bunker before the onslaught. The scientists traded concerned glances. Optimistically, hours; pessimistically, minutes. But even minutes could suffice if all others were prepared. This encapsulated humanity's strategy, not a singular, sweeping resolution, but a myriad of tactical innovations, perfectly timed in a crescendo of urgent ingenuity. Unable to triumph in traditional warfare versus the Alliance, their objective was merely to generate sufficient turmoil, enough upheaval, to compel a reassessment of Earth's conquest cost as the 42nd day of silence drew to a close. Worldwide, preparations intensified as launch platforms stood ready, weapons retrofitted and primed, and makeshift communication systems underwent a final check. The plan, though lacking grace and more akin to a blunt bar brawl, held the element of surprise. While within the mountain bunker housing Earth's unified command, the signal to conclude 42 days of strategic was prepared. Silent communication officers maintained vigilant positions, poised to relay the activation protocols, orchestrating humanity's desperate counteroffensive. The general's gaze shifted between the stark countdown display and the determined faces of those tasked with initiating humanity's inaugural interstellar conflict. This was uncharted territory. None envisioned combating an adversary from the depths of the cosmos. Nevertheless, they stood resolute, ready to gamble against the odds. "Commence the sequence," she declared. Activation sequences surged via subterranean fiber optics, hardened radio waves, and even archaic heliographs where digital comms failed. humankind readied to showcase why quietude is not acquiescence. On the Victory Alliance flagship, sensors registered a violent EM surge from the planet. Too late, alarms blared. The hush was broken, and the ensuing cataclysm would forever resonate. The Alliance, should it endure, would never repeat that blunder. Admiral Czar's impending calamitous shift began with a comm officer's frenzied clicks, universally translating to, "We're screwed." Across the galaxy, "Admiral, numerous launch signatures detected from the planet," the officer exclaimed, compound eyes widening in terror. "Hundreds, no, thousands ascending through the atmosphere." Zartar's antennae flickered with disdain. "They're crude projectiles." "Hardly a blip. Initiate point defense. Proceed with surrender broadcast." The comms officer faltered, mandibles twitching. "Sir, these aren't ballistic. They're actively maneuvering." Thus ignited the infamous 43rd day debacle, Alliance annals, though subsequent accounts would be far less boastful. Humanity's retaliation, a supernova's grace coupled with caffeinated Hornet's precision. The converted fishing ships off Japan's coast unleashed their advanced hybridized missiles, weapons spiraling through the atmosphere in impossible patterns that Alliance targeting systems dismissed, until they obliterated 3 patrol cruisers. The Proximan diplomat's skin cycled through alarmed violet hues as reports surged. "Admiral, we've lost contact with the righteous dominance, the eternal subjugator, and the absolutely not compensating." The upgraded International Space Station unleashed its maiden strike, a focused energy surge born from stellar research, now a weapon crippling an Alliance destroyer's defenses. The precisely calculated blast jeopardized the station's structure, but the crew achieved their crucial goal, opening a breach in the Alliance's orbital shield. Through this gap surged humanity's initial wave of advanced aircraft, manned by civilians and military forces hastily trained on rickety, engine-powered death traps, their inexperience offset by a ferocious, focused fury born of watching their world pulverized by invaders. "Seven Suns, what is that?" Zaktar exclaimed, observing the Earth fleet's chaotic swarm approach his command ship in tactically illogical patterns. Some zigged instead of zagging. Others seemed to court collision, swerving away only at the last possible moment. The last second. In a perilous ballet that baffled Alliance targeting systems programmed for predictable strategies, Alliance gunners, trained to expect calculated attack patterns, watched helplessly as human pilots executed maneuvers that would have resulted in immediate failure in their own academies. It wasn't superior skill, but the sheer audacity of humans, their willingness to attempt stunts any rational species would deem suicidal. Simultaneously, deep within the Rocky Mountains, a mathematician urgently pressed. With the theatrical flourish of a maestro's final chord, a cascade of keystrokes unleashed the quantum disruption signal, surging through the Alliance's FTL network at blinding speeds. On the inevitable victory, every connected system screamed in digital torment. Lights convulsed, gravity momentarily rebelled, and artificial atmospheres buckled, flinging unprepared crew against bulkheads, as Zakar's exoskeleton contorted agonizingly when pressure systems malfunctioned. "What's going on?" he exclaimed, aghast as command deck panels flickered off or showed absurd readings. The Ganymede analyst, whose kind valued mathematical exactitude, faced a near-spiritual breakdown as systems claimed 2 + 2 totaled 17. Inconceivable. They've initiated a quantum feedback loop within our planetary communication network. Meanwhile, humanity's amplified second-wave counteroffensive commenced with the Australian stealth. Vehicles, ingeniously masked with a fusion of Alliance tech and 60 millennia of hunting expertise, bypassed oblivious orbital defenses. Their objective, not direct fleet engagement, but the insidious neutralization of Earth's ground-based sensors. Systematically, these sensors succumbed, not to brute force, but deceptive manipulation. a carefully crafted stream of falsified data portraying Earth as dormant, subdued, even as. In Nevada, the world exploded into vibrant motion. The repurposed hangar disgorged a second surge of advanced aircraft. These weren't armed for obliteration, but ingenious infiltration. Each craft harbored bespoke drones destined to latch on to Alliance ships, beaming vital targeting telemetry to Earth's retooled missile defenses, swiftly reconfigured to target the heavens. The Proximan envoy's complexion morphed to a ghastly azure. "Admiral, we're intercepting frantic distress signals across the entire blockade. They're reporting human apparitions within fortified zones deeply entrenched in our vessels." This distinct terror emerged from a physicist who discovered Alliance teleportation tech, typically employed for urgent supply transfers, could be adjusted to dispatch compact soldier squads, disregarding their sustained cellular integrity. The human boarding units were aware of their impending demise upon volunteering, their physiques initiating quantum-level deterioration, yet they'd endure sufficiently to unleash bedlam upon the vessel's core infrastructure. Admiral Zatar, a veteran commander renowned for crushing conventional foes with superior firepower, now confronted his ultimate test, an adversary that flouted the very laws of physics and defied probability. "Initiate full defensive retreat," he barked, his composure fracturing under the weight of this unprecedented threat. "Ready all ships for emergency FTL jumps," the Ganymede analyst looked up from his console, intricate mathematical patterns swirling chaotically. "Admiral, FTL systems are completely down fleet-wide due to the quantum disruption. We are now stranded within this system." For the first time in his decorated career, Admiral Zakhtar registered an emotion, translated as drat, but more closely mirroring the human sentiment, "We have blundered catastrophically." As Alliance vessels blazed across Earth's orbit, their sophisticated defenses crumbled, not before greater technology, but under a relentless barrage of illogical attacks from countless vectors. Humanity's ultimate triumph echoed, not through quantum whispers or complex codices, but a basic radio wave, saturating every frequency, a seemingly archaic counterpoint to the technological cataclysm unfolding. Interstellar Alliance, be advised. Perhaps you misinterpreted our reticence. Allow us to clarify. Reiterate that the subsequent action marked humankind's inaugural declaration after 42 days of subjugation, guaranteeing the remnants of the Alliance would forever discern the difference between dormancy and capitulation. Half a year following what humanity began terming the clarification, Admiral Czar endured the ignominy of ratifying a truce upon his erstwhile flagship, now ironically rechristened Spectacular Misunderstanding, circling Earth not as a vanquisher, but as a diplomatic emissary. "You absolutely essential to grasp," he elucidated to the gathered terrestrial emissaries, his formerly majestic antenna now exhibiting a disheartened droop, indicative of deep mortification within his species. "Never before has there been such a reaction to Alliance demands." The human diplomat's smile radiated the agreeable warmth of a tactical nuclear blast. "There's a genesis for all things, Admiral, including the art of courteous requests before presupposing surrender. The treaty's stipulations were as groundbreaking as humankind's riposte. Earth declined membership in the Seven Systems Alliance. Instead, the Alliance was undergoing a profound transformation to embrace Earth as a genuine peer, forging the Eight Systems Cooperative. Alliance military doctrine was being revolutionized, with human strategists enlightening alien civilizations on asymmetric warfare, reminding them that technological disparity doesn't equate to strategic inferiority. Most galling to the old guard was the decade-long mandatory cultural immersion. Top Alliance leaders would reside among humans, cultivating genuine understanding, deciphering a subtle diplomatic euphemism that masked a de facto galaxy-wide moratorium for the race that arrogantly perceived itself as superior after the war. Humanity's technological leap had surpassed all Alliance projections. The synergistic fusion of human ingenuity with Alliance tech spawned breakthroughs that were mutually exclusive beforehand. Earth's initial interstellar crafts were now in progress, unglamorous utilitarian vessels that valued performance over aesthetics in a manner that rendered. Alliance engineers observed the Proximan diplomat, their skin now perpetually shaded with the subdued gray of diplomatic regret, as they leaned towards Zstar during a break in the talks. "Did we inadvertently assist them?" she inquired softly. "By attacking them, did we unintentionally catapult their advancement by centuries?" Zegatar's mandibles clicked in a dry, mirthless sound. "Never hint at that. Their collective ego is already monumental. It doesn't need further inflation." What remained unspoken was the significant alteration in galactic perception, species once comfortable under. The Alliance hegemony now gazed upon Earth with a blend of trepidation and profound respect. Humanity had achieved the unthinkable, compelling the formidable Alliance to reevaluate not only its military strategies, but also its overarching philosophy on interspecies engagement. As the concluding documents neared completion, the human negotiator, spearheading the discussions, approached Admiral Zakhtar discreetly. "You know," she remarked casually, "our silence wasn't a calculated strategy. It stemmed from internal disarray. Our lines of communication were fractured, and we desperately needed time to regain our bearings." Zakhtar's multifaceted eyes widened infinitesimally. So the counteroffensive was pure, desperate improvisation, not some grand design. He paused, incredulous. "Had you invaded without delay, instead of reveling prematurely in your self-congratulations, victory might have been yours." The Admiral's armored form appeared to slump imperceptibly, absorbing this ultimate humiliation. "Earth's preemptive silence wasn't masterly strategy," she finished, her smile a blend of amusement and stark warning. "But it worked remarkably well, especially given your misinterpretation of it as acquiescence." And so, the vast expanse of the galaxy came to understand a profound truth, echoed across the ages by countless earthly species, civilizations, and individuals. Often, the most lethal predator isn't the one whose roar shatters the silence, but the one who embraces it just before unleashing its devastating strike.